Hello and welcome. I am Lydia Colón Pereira, a visionary artist who's been living in Peru for 12 years now. Today, I am having a conversation with Kathleen Hanagan. She's a very special friend that I met in Cusco. She is an ordained high priestess, a psychotherapist for over 21 years, a psychodramatist, and now she is a mentor to the soul. Welcome, Kathleen, and thank you for being here. I would like to touch on something that I remember very vividly. One day when we were in Cusco, you came to me and said, Lydia, I came to Cusco and I found my soul. I would like you to share with us what you meant by that.
I remember that moment, Lydia, and when I think about it, my entire journey to Peru was guided by my soul. And what I can say about that is that a couple of years before this time, I had consulted a Mayan astrologer, a very wise man of the Mayan tradition. And he had done this reading for me, and it was translated by somebody. And what kept coming through is you're meant to reach more people. You're meant to reach very many people and help very many people on the planet. And all I could think of at the time was, yeah, I'm maxed out though. I'm so busy as it is. You know, what do you mean by that? But truthfully, a seed was planted at that time, and I kept coming back to it over and over again. I basically started to receive messages, and one of the messages told me I was going to move. I walked into my living room after being in my office, and I heard a voice say, "You're going to be moving." Today, a friend was questioning me, "Where are you going? You know, you're going to put your house on the market. Where are you going?" And I said, I still don't know, which is a lot of what happens when you're starting to listen to your soul, you know. And she said, "Well, how about Cusco?" And I said, "Where is it?" She said, "Peru." And I said, "That's it." You know, it was like I knew. And so literally within 6 months, I had closed my practice down, sold my house, and I had moved to the Andes, where I met you. I was drawn there. And you and I both know that people who end up in Cusco, Peru, everybody has a story about that, about being drawn there. It's a place that attracts a lot of people who are listening to their soul. And so I ended up there, and all I knew at that time was I wanted to understand something about compassion. Compassion, starting with myself, compassion for others, teaching compassion, and ultimately really teaching people who could make a big difference on the planet how to have compassion for themselves so that they could get their true message out, which ultimately always has to do with compassion, you know. And that was all coming down into me. It's like, what am I going to do about this? What am I going to do? And I didn't know, but I just kept receiving. And that was what my soul wanted me to do right then and there.
One of the other things that I remember you doing all the time was writing poetry.
The truth is, I'm a poet. So it started to emerge, but the learnings that I was receiving were coming through the poetry. And while I was there, I would send it to people back home, and they would get it. Because I wasn't explaining anything, I was simply speaking from the place that poetry comes from, which is from the soul. All of this came to me while I was there, and it's deeply embedded in my being. And what I'm trying to do is bring a very grounded way to people to realize these teachings. When you remember your soul's design, and you really learn the lessons that your soul has come here for, you actually discover the gift that you have to offer the world. And what I discovered is that it is my soul's design to help as many people as I can discover their soul's design.
How do you help someone?
What I've done is all the years of my work helping people, 21 years as a psychotherapist, coach, you know, all of that, I've gathered into something I call the soul emergence process. And really what it does is it's a roadmap for people. It's a map. It's not linear. It's an organic process. And ultimately it helps you to remember your soul's design and take it out to the world in whatever way that needs to be for you. It's very unique for each person. I think of all the steps in the process, it's hard to determine. I mean, there's not enough time here to talk completely about it, though I address some of it in the free report that I give, you know, on my website. There's a very important step. It's the second one.
Which is?
They're all important. But this one is called initiation.
Ah, okay.
Initiation, I learned a lot about that in Peru working with shamans, so as you can understand. And also, later as I became a priestess, and I entered into a priestess process and remembered that part of my soul's design. And initiation activates the transformation that you're seeking. It sets it into motion. And it needs to be done by somebody, almost as a blessing. You can't just do it for yourself. And in initiation, you actually pass through a portal. And I call it the portal of the heart. It's not done through your head, through your mind. It's through your heart, which has far more wisdom than our minds. For all of us, the template or the blueprint for our lives is in our souls. But we get other imprints when we're born and raised in this world, and those imprints are more based on fear, expectation, you know, the school system, all of that. Well, that emotion of fear or anxiety has a magnetic charge to it. And the thought that I'm not good enough has an electric charge. And when that thought or belief and that emotion wraps together, when they wrap together, have an electromagnetic charge. And actually starts to form the neural net pathway in our brains. And over and over we start to attract the same people into our lives and the same situations.
It's like repeating.
It's a repetition, yeah. And so learning how to separate that belief from that emotion and deal with that emotion freely, just be with it, make room for it, acknowledge it, you know, honor it, and then release it. That's part of what I teach. The more people who really get that, go out there and live their soul's design and make a living doing that. They create a new economy and they change the balance of power, you see? And they actually start to contribute to what Eckhart Tolle, our great spiritual teacher of these days, calls the new earth. And we really, really need that now. It really is following your bliss and being open to infinite abundance at the same time. That's what we're here for. In a sense, you know what it is?
What?
It's saying, God is my boss.
That's a great boss.
He's a great boss. All the benefits, he, she is in charge. I'm working for God. I'm working for the planet. I'm working for the greater good. And I'm loving it. That's what it's about.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to see you again, and I thank you for coming here to visit with me and Roberto.
Thank you, Roberto.
And for all of you that are out there watching this, really take this to heart, because it is coming from the heart and from a place of compassion. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks.
And thanks again, my darling.
Thank you, sister.